President of the Commission, Chairperson of the ECOWAS Council of Ministers, Representative of the United Nations Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel, ladies and gentlemen, I thank Your Excellencies once again for your participation in yet another extraordinary summit, albeit virtually, on a matter that has grave consequences for the peace and stability of our region, the crisis in Burkina Faso and its ramifications. The deteriorating political situation in our region should be a matter of great concern to all of us. No current country is insulated from its occurrence in the community, and we have to take action to nip it in the bud. We're confronted with a setback to our democracy, taking cognizance of the twin coups d'etat in Mali on 18th August 2020 and 24th May 2021, the one in Guinea on 5th September 2021, and now on 24th January 2022 in Burkina Faso. Added to this is the complex security environment occasioned by terrorist attacks and pandemics, presenting for us a toxic situation. Within this context, you may recall that in conformity with our ECOWAS Supplementary Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance, adopted in 2001, the principles of constitutional conversion principles provide for the following. A, any accession to power must be through free, fair, and transparent elections. B, unconstitutional change is prohibited, as well as any undemocratic method of gaining or retaining power. C, zero tolerance for power obtained or maintained by unconstitutional means. And D, the armed forces must be apolitical and must be under the command of a legally constituted political authority. No serving member of the armed forces may seek to run for elective political office. Excellencies, the happenings in the region tell us that not everybody has accepted democracy as the preferred mode of governance. We still have some work to do to convince such people that we are all safer under democracies. The resurgence of coups d'etats in our region is in direct violation of our democratic tenets and represents a threat to peace, security, and stability in West Africa. This situation hinders the much-needed economic and social development of the region.
Latest development in Burkina Faso reaching you. What are the lessons that we could take from this so that other West African states could prevent another case of military takeovers?
Look, what happened in Burkina Faso was a tragedy waiting to happen because the president who was re-elected just 2 years ago, Mr. Marc Kabore, was somehow a lame duck president. He was not able to address the security challenges in the country, not able to reduce the casualties within the civilian population and in the military, and he was losing control of the security in Burkina Faso, to the point when the Burkinabés would toppled in 2014 October the former president, Blaise Compaoré, was somehow regretting him because when he was in charge of our country for 27 years, from 1987 to 2014, the country was somehow shelved from the tension that we have had in West Africa. Now, what is the problem is that Mr. Marc Kabore is a former participant to the leadership of Blaise Compaoré leader. Once he saw the uprising of the population, but when he became president, he was not able to understand that peace needs to fix security, bring about peace and stability, instead of just using the democratic umbrella to enjoy life for himself and his cohort of friends coming from West Africa, that this was no longer acceptable. Unfortunately, this was going to fall on him, and that's a follow-up to what happened in Chad, in Mali, in Guinea-Conakry.
So this is to suggest
there will be more military coup because the civilians are not delivering results. And it's not surprising, by the way, that we observe this resurgence of military coup now, because in 1999, when there was no military coup at the end, it was the moment when African countries met in Algiers during an OAU summit. I attended, and it was decided that military coup would be stopped to allow civilians to control in exchange of a better management of the countries, of democratic rule, of respect of law. This has not been the case, and of course, this allowed the military to come to power today.
So what you're predicting is that we may have more of such activities happen. But what's also unique about this trend of military takeovers is that there seems to be citizen support for the military junctures that we've seen. What's your take on this? What's accounting for that receding trust in democracy across West Africa?
I am not surprised. And to a certain extent, I may surprise you by telling you that I'm happy of this development. Because at the end of the day, if those who are in charge, the civilians, they turn out to be civilian coup makers, unconstitutional rulers, extending their stay in power and infringing on democratic rights. Myself, I am a political exile, despite coming from a country, Senegal, who used to be a truce. They don't want people to respect their right. As long as this continues, yes, it makes sense for the military to come and make a difference. We have seen that in the past, elsewhere in the world. Take the case of Portugal in 1974. The Portuguese took power and handed over a totalitarian regime, and that created the way forward for the peaceful democratic process that we see now in Portugal. We didn't want this to happen in West Africa because there have been efforts like the Protocol for Democracy in 2001. When I was at ECOWAS in 1992, we put in place what was called the Protocol on Democratic Principles.
Right.
On the basis of the Commonwealth's 1991 principles, but that has not been respected by the leaders.
I get the point you're raising. Let's also hear from Richard. The presidency here in Ghana has decided to beef up security up north. Already over 1,000 persons are reported to have crossed over. Richard calls for a possible implementation of a cap on the term limits for West African leaders. It's part of the reasons why some experts believe we're seeing the military takeovers. What's your prescription on that?
This has to be respected. You cannot get access to power through democratic norms, the ballot box, and once you are there, you entrench yourself in power. Like it is said, one man, one vote, once. You don't allow anybody to defeat you electorally.